another episode of Missus Phillips Camp Kindergarten. We're still learning about sea turtles, so today in this episode, we are going to learn about all 7 different types of sea turtles. And you're going to be able to listen in and take in so much new information. Maybe you'll notice some turtles have similarities and some have differences, okay? So let's start here with our green sea turtle. So green sea turtles are herbivores, which means they eat plants.
Green sea turtles are named for their green skin.
Named for their green skin. I forgot to introduce Adventure Ashton is here to help me today. Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Miss Phillips.
All right, so green sea turtles also love warm waters only, so they don't want to travel to any of the cold oceans.
The green sea turtle also has a small head and flippers like paddles used for skillful swimming.
Yes. Juveniles eat jellyfish, crabs, and sponges. So the grown-up sea turtles, the adults, are herbivores. They only eat plants. But when it's a juvenile or a kid sea turtle, they eat jellyfish, crabs, and sponges. So they're carnivores when they're babies and children, but when they're grown-ups, they only eat plants.
The green sea turtle can also lay between 100 to 200 eggs.
And over here you can see that a green sea turtle can live to be 80 years old or even older. And they can grow up to 700 pounds. That is very heavy. All right, now that we've learned about our green sea turtles, we're gonna travel to our next turtle. Here we are at our next destination, and we are going to learn about the leatherback sea turtle. So a leatherback sea turtle is a carnivore, which means it eats meat.
The leatherback sea turtle is also the largest turtle on Earth.
Big. More than 100 million years old. That means this species has been around for more than 100 million years.
Interestingly, their bluish-gray shells are flexible and rubbery with ridges.
All the other sea turtles have really hard shells. They can hold their breath for 85 minutes. So they're not a fish. They don't have gills and breathe underwater. They have to hold their breath, and they can do it for 85 minutes.
The leatherback sea turtle can visit almost any ocean in the world, warm or cold waters.
Wow, we learned so much about the leatherback sea turtle. They can also live to be about 45 years old in the wild, and they can weigh up to 2,000 pounds. They are big. All right, time to be off for our next sea turtle. Here we are with our Kemps Ridley sea turtle. This sea turtle is an omnivore, so it eats plants and meat.
The olive Ridley sea turtle also prefers shallow waters where it's easier to catch its food.
It eats shellfish and loves crab.
The Ridley sea turtle,
Kemps.
or Kemps Ridley sea turtle.
It's okay, it's the Kemps Ridley.
Kemps Ridley sea turtle is also the smallest type of sea turtle.
They can visit cold and warm waters.
Sadly, they are critically endangered.
Critically endangered means that not only is it considered endangered, but it's really endangered, which means we're seeing fewer and fewer of these sea turtles, and one day they might be gone forever. All right, time to head on to our next sea turtle. Here we are with our olive Ridley sea turtle. This sea turtle can live up to 50 years in the wild and can be 100 pounds. And it's an omnivore, so it eats both plants and animals, so meat as well.
The olive Ridley turtle eats mostly jellyfish, crabs, snails, and shrimp.
It only lives in warm waters.
They are solitary animals except when they are nesting.
That means they like to live alone, and they only come together with other sea turtles when it's time to lay their eggs.
They can have up to 100 eggs at a time.
And they're most abundant of all sea turtles, but still declining. What does that mean? That means that we still have the most of these sea turtles out of all the other sea turtle species, but the numbers are going down. So we're getting less and less of them. So they may not be as endangered as some of the other species, but the numbers of them in the wild are going down. All right, time for our next turtle. Time to learn about the Flatback Sea Turtle. This sea turtle can be up to 80 years old in the wild and weigh up to 200 pounds.
They are omnivores, eating mostly seaweed, shrimp, and fish.
It's also named for its flat shell. That's why it's called a flatback.
They can have up to 50 eggs per nest.
It doesn't really travel as much as the other sea turtles. It likes to stay in the similar spots.
They also really like warm waters.
And they only nest in Australia. And what that means is they only lay their eggs on the continent of Australia.
They also like to stay in more shallow waters,
which means they don't like to go down really deep. And they're hunted by saltwater crocodiles. All right, on to the next turtle.
The Loggerheads sea turtle can live up to 50 years and weigh over 253 pounds.
The Loggerhead sea turtle is a carnivore, eating fish, shrimp, and sponges.
The Loggerhead turtle is named after its massive head and has a very strong jaw.
It also has a reddish-brown shell that is shaped like a heart.
They are the keystone species. Other animals depend on it for survival.
So a keystone species is when there's an animal that's alive that other animals depend on to stay alive themselves. So a crab is an example. A crab might ride on the back of a loggerhead shell to eat the algae off, and the algae is food for the crab.
They are also migratory, and they visit all the oceans in the world except for the coldest ones.
This turtle really likes to swim and travel. All right, on to the next turtle.
The Hawksbill turtle is an omnivore, eating marine algae and sea urchins. They can live up to 30 to 50 years old and can weigh up to 100 or 150 pounds.
They are carnivores and love to eat sponges.
They also really like to live in the warm waters.
They've been hunted in the wild because of their beautiful and colorful shells.
Their head looks like the head of a bird or a bird's beak, which is why it is called a hawksbill turtle.
It likes to be on the coast where it's easier to find sponges.
They are also critically endangered.
So this is another species of turtle that's very, very endangered. Like I said, it gets hunted for its beautiful shell. All right, we've learned about almost every single species. Oh wait, we did learn about every species of sea turtle, but we have one more surprise for you. All right, before we go for today, I want to talk about the hatchlings, the baby sea turtles once they hatch out of eggs. Now, remember, a sea turtle is oviparous, so it's egg laying. So these little hatchlings hatch from eggs. And many hatch at one time because that gives them the best chance of survival. That when they hatch all at the same time, they can all scurry to the ocean together, and that gives them the better chance of making it to the ocean without getting eaten by some predators.
Turtle hatchlings must crawl to safety to the sea to avoid predators.
Ooh, we just kind of talked about that. The hatchlings hatch from eggs, and they even have one special tooth that they're born with, and that tooth's only purpose is to help them crack the egg to come out.
Most hatchlings look like a mini version of their parents.
Many of them will return to the same exact beach where they were born to lay eggs of their own.
It also usually takes 2 months for those eggs to hatch.
Well, I wanted to showcase the hatchlings because they're so cute. Look at all the different sea turtle babies.
Aww.
Well, thanks for joining us today, and I hope you learned a lot of brand new information about sea turtles. Bye.